Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the very last episode of Ask Me Monday for 2018, in which we are going to take a look back at some of the most watched moments and episodes of the entire year. And this episode, much like the majority of the episodes of Ask Me Monday this year, have been brought to you with the support and love of a really great company called Knitter's Pride if you are in North America, Knit Pro if you are elsewhere in the world. They've been so supportive, and they're continuing to do so by offering an amazing giveaway. So I am going to be giving away one of their Knit and Purr interchangeable needle sets. Super gorgeous wood in a variety of sizes, interchangeable, also comes with different lengths of cords and a tote bag. So stick around to the end of this episode to find out how you can win this. It's about a $90 value, so you're definitely going to hang around for that. So without further ado, we are going to watch clips from the episodes that you have watched the most. And then what I've done is I have put together a whole list on my blog at vickiehowell.com with the links to all of the full episodes if you want to revisit, all of the patterns when it was appropriate. We've covered topics ranging from beginning to intermediate and a little bit of advanced, knitting, crochet, other needlework, projects, techniques, tips, tricks. So we're going to kind of take a sneak peek, watch little portions of some of those videos, and just kind of take a look back at 2018. So without further ado, again, let's take a look at the top 10 episodes of Ask Me Monday for 2018. So take your bag, and you want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And get it, you know, relatively in line, but don't obsess over it. And then you want to fold it in half. And then in half again, but don't worry about the strap up top because we're about to cut that off. Okay, and then you want to trim off the end, the bottom of the bag. And the top. Ditch the handles. I feel like mine is falling apart a little bit here. Okay. So then we're going to take our folded bit and we're going to start cutting it into strips about a 1/2 inch or centimeter wide. It does not have to be perfect. They do not have to be uniform. They just need to be strips. And you'll just continue doing that for the entire bag. Okay, and then what you'll get are these little loops. Now, back in my tutorial for aware knits, and I believe when Erica came down, but I could be wrong, we actually had you cut a spiral so that they'd be double or single-stranded. But since then, I think the sort of common consensus is that double-stranded is better, and especially for a mat that somebody's going to be lying on, you want that extra bit of substance. So keep it as a loop. You'll take 2 loops, and then essentially, you're going to just tie them together as if you were tying a piece of fringe on a scarf. For macrameers out there, it's called the lark's head knot. So you're just going to slip 1 loop through the next loop and tie them together. And you'll just continue that for all of your loops. I'll show you again. Slide 1 loop through the other, fold it over, feed the longer portion through, and pull. Pull gently though, because it will snap if you don't. If it does snap, you can just tie it and knot it and retie it though. It doesn't matter. This will have knots. And then you'll continue doing that, and then you'll just roll it in a ball as if you would other yarn. So let's get started on this one. So let's do this fun yarn. I believe this is by Spun Right Round, this yarn. And I could probably, I don't have a J hook in front of me. I think this I hook will still work. Yeah, I think I'll still go with this hook. Okay, and again, the pattern for these, both of these buttons are on VickieHowell.com, also in the status update right here. Okay, so for this one, again, you could use the same method as before where you chain 2 and then work your double crochets in the center, and I'll show you how, or in the second chain, or you can do the magic circle. There's a lot of different ways to do it. This is how I'm doing it. I'm laying my tail across my first 2 fingers and wrapping around. Then I'm going to take my hook, reach under the first strand, grab the second, and now I have my stitch, and there's my loop. Okay, from here, I pull through and chain 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm now going to do double crochets. If you're in the US, there are trebles if you are not. And you'll do 11 of those in this circle. So yarning over, inserting hook, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops once, pull through 2 loops twice. So unlike with the other version where our chain did not count as a stitch, because the double crochet height is more, also the chains are higher, and so it can count. So we need a total of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, halfway there. And again, I apologize for the sounds that were coming from my light. I think I'm going to have to bid that light bulb a farewell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that should be 11 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, 11, and then the 12th stitch is that chain 3. Okay, then we're going to take our tail and we're going to pull, and that's why you do the magic circle, my friends. You pull it, cinches it together. You're going to join the round by slipping a stitch in the top of the first beginning chain 3. Now, this is where you could get crazy. You could, at this point, join another color like I did here, and this is where you would join it when you slip it, or you can keep going with the same color. Okay, so if you're going with the same color, you're going to go ahead and slip that stitch. And then from here, just as an edging, and you don't have to do this, this would be fine. I recommend doing this if you're using a finer weight yarn, just because it'll give it a little more body. For a yarn that's chunky like this one, it's not necessary, but I'm going to show you anyway. So from here, you want to slip stitch twice. So you need to increase so it won't curve up like our baubles do. You need to slip stitch twice in every stitch. So you're going to go from 12 to 24 stitches to keep your piece flat. You could also do single crochets here. I didn't want any more height, so that's why I chose to do slip stitches here. And even though I did write out the pattern on VickieHowell.com, please always just use these patterns as a suggestion, a jumping off point for whatever you want to do. I think this would be really cute to add, especially with the finer weights, a picot edging around. You could play with beading. I think I lost track. Let me back it up. You want to make sure that you're doing, like I said, 2 in every round. Beth is asking what brand of yarn this is. This is a small spinner. Her name is Spin Right Round. You can find her on Instagram, and I just love her stuff. I discovered her at my local yarn store, Hill Country Weavers. And I'm using, I think it's this color. Yeah, I think it's this exact color. Actually, I'm not sure about that. I used this color for a swatch on the Knit Show Instagram feed, and then I'm using one of our other colors for a hat in the upcoming The Knit Show book. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. You get the gist. You'd end it with a slip stitch, and then from here, from here you have a couple choices. So you can make another smaller version and sew it on. You could make a bobble version, sew it on. You could leave it like this and call it a day and just weave in these ends. That way it would lay really flat on your garment. If you don't care about it laying really flat, maybe you decide you want to put a little handle on it to help with sewing. I don't actually love that for this project, but you do you. I'm going to show you how to do it just in case you want to do it that way. I feel like it causes bulk, especially with this bigger yarn, that's unnecessary. So you want to just take your working yarn and just kind of slip stitch on the back side towards the general center. And then when you get to the center, you can do a few chains. Depending on the weight of the yarn, the amount will be different. I'm just going to say 4 for now. So you do 4 chains. And then you insert your hook underneath, just sort of part of the post of the back of one of the stitches. Bring your yarn around. Pull it through. You'd of course then weave in the ends, and then you've got this little area. Now this would be really cute if you wanted to slide it onto a strap for a purse or onto, I don't know, belt flare. Is belt flare a thing? It is now. All right, so you want to start by crocheting a chain. And the amount doesn't actually matter because you could just keep going and going and going once you're done. Once you've done your chains to create more width and height, which will make much more sense when I'm showing you what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to, that's about 8. Hi, Susie. Hi, Noah. So good to see you here. All right, then you're going to be taking your cord and holding it next to it. But you want to, instead of having it even at the top, to begin with, you want a little bit of a lead on the cord. And you'll see why in a second. It just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so we are going to insert our hook in the second chain from the hook, which is this one. So this is the first, this is the second. And this first stitch is a little fussy, but then it gets a lot easier after. Okay, then we're going to yarn over and pull through. And that's where we've attached the yarn to the cord. And then we finish that single crochet stitch. If you're in the UK, it's a double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to just continue with all of the chains that we have made. So you're single crocheting around the cord. So you go into the next chain, you yarn over, that yarn over catches the cord, and you're going to just keep doing that until all of the chains are made. What's great about this project is you don't have to be a crocheter really to do it, because this is as hard as it gets the whole time. Just this one stitch single crochet. On my YouTube channel, I have a single crochet tutorial, but honestly, I think working around the cord, this is probably the easiest. Now, at this point, after you've worked a few stitches, this is when you can pull the cord so that it's even. If you try to match it up to begin with, it gets lost and starts to fray, and it just makes things a little more difficult. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've got 2 more chains to work. And I just saw a note, somebody, I didn't see the name, sorry, but, oh, yes, I did. Jessica's saying this is very similar to a provisional cast on. It 100% is. So good call. So knitters, if you're thinking, crochet, I just don't want to deal, it's not any different than what you've done for the provisional crochet. Okay, so now we've worked to the last stitch. So this is when we want to start spiraling. And for reference, you'll see this is where I started. This is a much longer, as I said, I did a much longer piece, and this is where we are now. So in that last stitch that you just worked, you worked one stitch, you're curving your piece now, and you want to work 2 more in that exact same chain. And once again, if you think anybody else would be interested in learning how to make this basket, please share this video. Okay, so we're working the second stitch in that same chain, and then 1 more in that same chain. That is because this is going to be our end, and so we want the curve. I saw a question asking if you need to burn the ends of this to keep it from fraying, because this is very similar. It's that plastic, similar to paracord. You don't really need to, you can, absolutely, but it's mostly buried, so the yarn kind of keeps it intact. Okay, and once again, this is my Sriracha color from Valley Yarns, and I'm using a Waves crochet hook from Knitter's Pride. Okay, so now we're going to be working on the underside of the chain. And don't get all hung up about what stitches what, because it really doesn't matter. It's going to all come out in the wash. So now we are laying the cord on top of the bottom row of the stitches, and we're going to just single crochet over. This one. I'm going under both of the loops. You could go under just one of the loops. Just be consistent. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so now it looks like I've got 1 more stitch to work. Whoops. Slinky yarn gets away from me. And now I'm on the opposite end, so I need to balance out what I've done at this end up here. We're working in a spiral this whole time, so there's never an end of a round. But I know that I am at an end of this piece, and so I need another corner, which means we round the corner with 3 stitches in the next stitch. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we've got our ends established. At all times now, while you're making this piece, while you're growing it, and this is what I meant, you can make it as big as you want. I'll write the dimensions that I used for my basket, but you can really just turn this into whatever you'd like it to be. Okay, from here, we're just going to keep on going around. So the first stitch that we are going to be focused on today is the elongated cross garter stitch. Okay, now this one I actually modified from the book, from the Ultimate Knitting book, so it is not the same. This is a modification, only just because I liked doing it this way. So the swatch I have worked is just in regular stockinette stitch, but you could work any other stitch pattern. So what we're creating, let me pull this out. This is the one that we are working on now. So all we're going to do is insert in a loop in a stitch, and we're going to wrap around both needles once, twice, and then a third time around the back needle only. Then we're going to finish the stitch, pulling through the new stitch and letting all of that, the old stitch and the wraps, fall off. Now what you'll see is you'll get this really long elongated stitch, but it's also kind of almost ropey. So unlike a regular yarn over that's been dropped, you'll see this has a little bit more body to it, because I've also am working with thick and thin yarn, so that even adds more to it. But it gives you that twist, which I find really interesting and also more substantial than just regular yarn overs dropped. So let me show you a couple more. Few rows. Okay, so the very first row of the Latvian braid requires you to knit the first stitch, which I started right here, but I've already worked part of the way around. with your main color and then join in the second color and then alternate knit stitches, which looks like this, with your main color and your contrasting color. And sometimes in a pattern it'll say like MC and BC, the BC being braid color. I'm just calling it my contrasting color. Okay, so you can do this a couple of ways. You can either you can double hand it if you're feeling fancy, where you knit the contrasting color with one hand, knit the main color with your other hand and do that across. Or if you're feeling less than fancy, you can just drop each color and just make sure that you're keeping the colors, you're carrying them in the back. And you're going to do that all the way around. The point is that you just need there to be stitches. Every other stitch needs to be the alternating color. And this is why in the round that you need even amount of stitches. Okay, so we've gone all the way around and I've placed my marker. And now I'm ready. So that would be round 1 of Latvian braiding. And that is just getting your second color in. Okay, so let's see. This marker is a wee bit tight for this needle, so let's see if I can get it off. There's nothing like live video to find out something like this. Okay, all right, so I'm going to slide my marker over. Now, I'm always going to work like colored stitches with like color. So, but from here, the next couple rows are going to be purls. So I'm bringing both strands of yarn to the front of my work. And for this first portion, and what I'm doing is I'm creating a right pointing, and I'll bring this in here so you can see. So pointing this way, braid. You just reverse it if you want it to go the opposite. So I'm going to purl this first stitch with my main color, and you want to bring the working yarn underneath the color that you're not using, the strand that you're not using. So I'm going to purl. Then I'm going to purl the next stitch with its color, and I want to bring that strand again underneath the strand I'm not using. So the working strand always goes underneath on this row. Of the unused yarn. So get this one out of the way, pick up this one, and purl. And you can see it starting to form part of the braid right there. Super pretty already, right? So I'm just going to do this a couple more times just to make sure that you've got it. Got it? Okay, so my next stitch is a contrasting color, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to bring it underneath the yarn I'm not working with. Purl, drop it, pick up the color I want to use, making sure that it goes underneath the yarn of the opposite color, and that's all there is to it. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is set up. All right, to set up your row, you're going to insert the first stitch with your oh, I'm sorry, I should have said, this is I left a long tail and I just threaded it through my tapestry needle. This is also, I like this kind from Knitter's Pride because it doesn't matter the weight of yarn that can go through, and it's also great if you're working with beads, with big beads. Okay, so you work in purlwise, and you string that through, but you do not let it fall off the needle. Then you're going to go in the back and you're going to insert this in the stitch knitwise, the first one knitwise on the back. All right, that's the only time you'll ever have to do that way. That just gets you established. Now we're going to do the opposite, and from now on, this is how we're going to roll. We're going to insert knitwise on our front needle. We're going to let that stitch drop off. Then we're going to insert purlwise in the next stitch, but leaving it on. Then we want to insert the stitch purlwise into the back stitch, or excuse me, the back needle, the first stitch on the back needle, let it fall off and not get caught on your sock. And then in the second stitch on the back needle, we want to insert it knitwise, not letting it fall off. So those last 4 steps that just got caught on my needle, let me pull that, are what you're going to repeat again and again. So we insert our tapestry needle through the first stitch on the front needle, let it drop off, pull through. We then insert our needle into the second stitch on the front, purlwise, and pull through. Then we move to our back. We insert our stitch purlwise on the back needle, let it fall off, and then we insert our tapestry needle knitwise on the back needle, leaving it on. And you can see that forming together, and you will just do that until you don't have any stitches left, and then you would just feed your needle through the top of your toe and then weave the stitches in. So to make the knitted single crochet, you are going to knit the first stitch, leave the stitch on the left hand needle, yarn over just that right hand needle, and then knit the stitch again. Okay, you'll now have 3 loops where you used to have 1. So you actually increased, but we're not increasing. What we want to do is we want to take the first 2 loops and pass them over the last one, and that creates the single crochet. Now I'm going to show you again. We are going to knit the stitch, leaving it on the left hand needle, yarn over again, knit the stitch. Now what I'm doing with passing over these two loops over this stitch mocks the same thing that a hook would do if we were working in single crochet. So normally a hook would pull this last loop, or first loop I guess, up the top, pull it through the next 2 loops on the hook. So we're creating that same idea by essentially pulling that loop through the 2 other loops. So it's the same concept. You're getting the length from the yarn overs, so that's where that's coming, but it really is cool how it kind of works. So I'm going to show you one more and then we'll move on to the next one. So Rose just made a great comment. The pointier the tips, the better. Lace needles are great. These are Knitter's Prize Zings. They have really a nice pointy tip, and that is, it doesn't matter as much with this one. This one isn't that big of a deal, but when we get up to the treble, and also the double, it really does make it easier. Okay, and like I said, I made this up this morning, so if any of you have seen this done a different way, cool, share it if you'd like. This is just my own little experiment inspired by Lily Chin. And that's it, and then you would just do that all the way across. 12, 14. Okay, so we've got all our stitches cast on. Now it's time to introduce our second. This is done much the same way as if you were working with your DPNs, where you cast on a 1 double pointed needle and then you distribute them to the rest. Same sort of philosophy here. So what we want to do is we need to slide our stitches all the way down to the opposite end of the needle. And then we introduce our second needle, and you'll slide the stitches about half of them. If you're working in an odd number, just sort of as close to half as you can get. So you'll be 1 off on them, just so it's relatively even. You want to slip them purlwise so they're not twisted. $36. Okay, so we had 14 stitches, so I'm going to do 7. Okay, until half of them are on the second needle. My cords are wrapped around my camera, so give me a second. Okay, then you're going to hold them parallel. And and you're going to see that you've got half on half. Now, I mentioned to you earlier that it doesn't matter what length of cords you have, and it really doesn't. I will tell you that the shorter they are, the less like cray-cray it is at the beginning, but it's not crucial. Okay, then you're going to slide both sets of stitches all the way to the opposite end. All right, as with double pointed needles, the joining in the round at the very beginning is the most sort of mind-blowing part, and then after that it's smooth sailing. Carla's just tuning in. She wants to know what this knitting is called. What we are doing right now are knitting small circumferences using 2 circular needles in place of double pointed needles. Okay, so I've slid my stitches all the way up to the tips. And now you're always going to be working at the very beginning with the second needle that you introduced. So I'm going to get in the ready position. The other thing to note, and this is why you want to have 2 different color needles if possible, or else mark them, is that you're never going to work with one end of one needle and another of the opposite needle. You will only ever knit on the buddy needle of the same set. So this is why it really helps, because if you're in your zone and all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what needle to pick up, just know that you're always using the buddy needle. Okay, so to join the round, you see that your working yarn, that's actually my tail, your working yarn is over here. You're going to just knit the stitch, and it doesn't matter if you knit continental or English. I just happen to be an English knitter. And you're going to knit that first stitch. Give it a little tug so that it closes it up. Okay, and then knit one more stitch just for security. And then you can take this needle so it's not in the way and just slide it out and let these needles hang loosey-goosey right on the cord. Okay, so then you'll just knit as you normally would. Tail out of the way until you get to the end of this needle. So now that your left hand needle is empty, that will tell you 2 things. One, you're halfway through your round. 2, it's time to move on to the other set of needles. So that's when you pick up your second one. Pull it so your stitches are ready, and flip it just as if you were using straight needles. And then you're going to just pick up the yarn and continue to knit the second half of the stitches. And again, if you want, you can pull this one out of the way and let them hang on the cord. It's totally up to you. And remember, with this video, the recorded broadcast will be playing here and on my YouTube channel so that you can come back later and you can rewind it and rewatch. Okay, we're done with this needle, and that is the first round. So you've knit 1 round. So to get started again on round 2, and you'll know your tail is there, so you know that you're at the end of the round. Again, you just lather, rinse, repeat. So pull the other needle, flip, grab your working yarn. I guarantee this will be easier when you're not also straddling a tripod, as I am. Pick up that second needle, and you're on your way. So this is one of those skills that looks a little bit more precarious than it actually is, but I think I really prefer it to the magic loop method, which, as I mentioned earlier, is used with 1 long cord, because I don't have to worry about the cord length. And the other cool thing is that, let's say I have to stop and drop my knitting, as I often do, because especially smaller projects that are in the round, I have to, you know, I often throw in my purse. What's cool about this is you can just let the stitches hang loose on the needles and you're not going to lose any stitches. So I really like that. I also like that you don't have to hunt down, you know, 4 to 5 DPNs that match because, you know, sometimes we are not all that organized. Speaking for myself, probably only. Okay, so you'll continue in the manner. Well, let me see. Let me go ahead and grab these. You'll continue in that manner. So we're halfway through the round. Pick up my other needle. And continue to knit. So this method would be great for socks, for wrist warmers, for baby hat, for the top of a hat as you decrease, and for mobile on the go, because if you throw all your project in the bag, you're less likely to lose stitches because, as I said before, so I've worked that second round, you can just put them on hold like that. So just as with our knit version, how we were making these so fast is with a tall stitch, we are doing the same with the crochet stitch here. Look at how long that one round is. That's why you only need 6 rounds. So what we're going to be focusing on today as far as lesson goes is how to do a double, triple crochet stitch, which is what you are looking at here. Okay, I'm going to pull this out. So I have a much smaller, a lighter weight, smaller version here, just because this is a really tall stitch and I only have so much wiggle room on where I can put my camera, and I wanted you to be able to see the whole thing. So I'm using Knitter's Pride Wave crochet hooks. You will need a 12 millimeter though. Like I said, I'm using a smaller version. For both the knit and the crochet projects, I use 12 millimeter needles and hooks. So this is a waves though. Okay, so I've done a round of half double crochet. If you need a refresher course on half double, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Vickie Howell, and I have free tutorials there. Okay, so we want to start the round by chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what you need to chain that amount to get you to the height of this stitch. I mean, look at how tall this stitch is. This is going to get you a cowl in no time. All right, so for a double triple, what we need to do is yarn over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Do you notice the theme in here? Since we had to wrap the yarn around 3 times for the knitters, for the knit version of the cowl, I wanted the same thing for the crocheters, so that's what we're doing. So we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook 3 times. And then we are going to insert the needle, the hook, under the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you're not going to have a fully loaded hook right now. 2, 4, 5. And you'll have 5 loops on your hook now. Then you yarn over and you pull through 2 loops. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And that's it. That's how you create a double triple. Let's try it again. We're going to yarn over 3 times around the hook, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through. That just got you into the next stitch position, and now we're ready to finish the stitch. So we're yarning over and bringing them through the 2 loops 4 times. And that, my friends, is it. You can see just how much taller, extraordinarily taller, the double, triple crochet is than the half double crochet. All right, so I've worked all of my leg, which I believe is 9 stripes. And again, if you want a shorter leg, you can customize it that way. If you want yours to be kind of a stubbier stocking, that would work too. And then we're going to come to our heel. So this is where the short rows are. So I'm not going to show you the entire short rows, but I'm going to show you how to do the wrap and turn, which you will need to, which will be the method that I'm using for this stocking. I feel like I need to give you a little bit more seeing room. Okay, So the pattern calls for working 2 rows in whatever your next color is. And then you are on the right side going to knit 20 stitches. So there's 30 stitches total. You're going to knit 2/3 of them. Okay. And again, that pattern can be found at VickieHowell.com. And if you know anybody that would be interested in making these scrap bin stockings, please share this video. It really helps when you tell folks about it. Okay. So I have worked to 20 and now I need to do my first wrap and turn. So to do that, I need to bring the yarn forward. I'm going to slip the stitch purlwise, and then I'm going to bring the yarn back. There's the wrap. Wait for it. And here's the turn. So I'm turning my work. I'm leaving all of these stitches unworked. They're just going to hang out. And then I'm going to purl. Excuse me. I said wait for it and I did it too fast. Let me do that again. Okay. So I'm bringing the yarn forward, slipping the stitch purlwise over to your left-hand needle, bring the yarn back. Then you need to slip the stitch back onto your left-hand needle. I got cocky there. Now we do the turn. So that was the wrap. And so you can see that you've created this little turtleneck. And now you will start purling. Okay, so then we are going, the pattern calls for purling 9. So 1, 2, 3, 5. And I'm back on my Knitter's Pride ginger needles, which I love. They're super silky smooth. Okay, so I've purled 9 stitches. And now it is time to do a little wrap and turn action again. So I'm going to put my yarn in the back this time because I'm on the wrong side. I'm going to slip a stitch over. Then I'm going to bring the yarn forward. And now I'm going to slip that stitch back. So I've wrapped it. So I'm doing the same thing, but on the purl side. And you can see there's that little wrap stitch, there's a little turtleneck. And then you would continue as the pattern calls for, knitting the amount of stitches that it calls for, slipping, wrapping, and turning around, around, around. And the complete instructions for this entire stocking, as including the short row heel, are at VickieHowell.com. We packed a lot into 2018, and that was just a glimpse. If you want to see the rest of the episodes from the entire year, you can find them all on Facebook, just at Vickie Howell. Click on the videos tab and you'll see an Ask Me Monday playlist. It has been a blast being able to be with you and teach you and also be inspired by the community. Just by watching these videos and sharing them and commenting, you've joined what is now a global community of stitchers. We have viewers in New Zealand and Italy and Israel and Germany, Turkey, and beyond. And just by communicating through the board, sharing links, talking to each other, you've brought us all closer together as a stitching tribe. So thank you so much for that. So let's talk about winning that set from Knitter's Pride. So this is the Knit and Purse set. Once again, it is a set that goes from, let's see, US size 11, from 4s to 11. So there's sets of needles. It also comes with it's beautiful wood. It comes with this kind of cool modern looking pouch that has multiple cords in it and stoppers. And then it also comes with this cute kind of festive tote bag. So it's about a $90 value. Their products are amazing. It'll last you a lifetime. Really, really great set to add to a knitter's toolbox. So to enter to win, all you need to do is help me support local yarn stores. So that's kind of been my mission for quite some time, but I've been really focused on it with my business Yarn Yay and for 2018. I would like to continue that for 2019, helping our favorite small independent businesses just rise by frequenting them. So to enter to win this set of needles, all you need to do is post a link or the name of your local yarn store. Just post the name or the link so that we can all learn about them. If you live in a place where you don't have access to a knitting store, then just simply add the name or a link of your favorite independent online retailer. That's all you need to do to be entered to win. You do need to do that by the 9th of January. So January 9th by midnight Central Time, you need to go ahead and post that in the comments section. You can find all of the information from this episode, the full episodes of each individual snippet, as well as all the patterns and projects through my website, VickieHowell.com. I will put the exact URL for that blog post in the comment section if you're watching on Facebook, in the description if you're watching later on YouTube. Please make sure that you follow, like, share, all of the things to help us be seen so that we can continue to make more of these shows for 2019. Speaking of, I would also love to know what types of things you'd like me to cover in the next year's show. I would love to hit more milestones. This year we hit our 100th episode, which was really fun. We officially hit 3 years. We are still the longest running craft-based live show on Facebook, and that's because you continue to share and like and give me great ideas to teach you. So please, if there's any skill that you would like to learn, please post that in the comment section and I will see about bringing it back to you for 2019. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me every week. I know it's really hard to carve out a little time to be creative, and it means a lot to me that you spend some of that with me. So don't forget to take a little time to breathe in and craft out and spread a little love and creativity through the world. All right, I will see you in 2019.